Danny Elliott. I live in North Yorkshire, Whitby.
You know, the very essence of the mental game is this. The only reason an event matters is because we make it matter.
Welcome to the Mullins Farrier podcast.
I had a soccer coach, and he always said, we are going to be the fittest team always out there. Because in the moment, you don't want to be worried about being tired. You want to be focused on the soccer game.
Right.
Which is what's going to translate for me, hopefully, in the CJF, is that I'm not worried about being tired. I can focus on the task at hand.
And granted, you use like, get your specimens made. 3 months before you take your exam, get all your AW specimens made. It's good to have other people putting that pressure on you as well. Sometimes if it's a single journey, and you've not got mentors that are coaching you, helping you, you kind of rest a little bit.
If you're hearing this, you are currently on the non-subscriber feed. If you would like to hear this episode in its entirety, please subscribe using the link below. If you're a student, apprentice, or just find yourself in a situation where it isn't financially feasible to subscribe, please reach out to me on Facebook or through the website. The good folks at Out West Design and Fabrication are lending their support by helping us to cover your scholarship subscription. You can check out many of their incredible projects on their Facebook page. Out West Design and Fabrication, your choice for Farrier rakes. Now here's a sample of this week's episode. Thank you for listening.
Most people that I know in this industry only want the best for the other people in the industry, which is a pretty cool thing.
Welcome, everyone. I've got a great episode lined up for you as an end-of-the-year special. I hope you all had a successful and happy 2024, and I wish you an even more successful and even happier 2025. I've been prodding Danny to do an episode for several years, and as many can attest, Danny is a hard man to pin down for any length of time. He has a lot of pokers in the fire, and I always ask him when we cross paths at Farrier conventions where he wears many hats and has a lot of tasks to sort out. But when Daniel Bennett told me that he had Danny tentatively lined up for an interview, I knew I had to get ours done first. And what better time to do that than when Daniel Bennett was busy being a chief steward at this year's Focus and International. All is fair in love and scooping podcast guests, Danny. Anyway, I'm sure that as you listen to our chat and hear Danny Elliott's many inspiring philosophies on shoeing and life in general, you'll understand why we chose it as our New Year's episode. It was an honor to get to do this one, and as always, an honor to get to share it with you folks. Thank you all for your support this year and for helping me to continue doing this fun project with our fellow peers in the trade. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did.
You're a hard man to peg down. You're busy and involved in so many things. How do you make all this work?
I think you ask a busy man to do a job and he gets it done.
Right.
I think that's the whole, that's it really. I like to be busy too. I think it's important to be busy, but I like my downtime also.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you ever get downtime?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. I'm very big on my family, so I focus on that a lot. Do a lot of things with the kids and my wife, Ellen.
Right.
But no, I think it's the work-life balance needs to be there.
Right.
It may appear busy, but that's because I try to condense things. So I try to condense things to get the actual downtime as well.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go back to the beginning. How did you become a farrier in the first place?
Basically, my stepsister, she got a horse. I don't know, I've been 10, 11, smart. And then she fell out with love with the horse pretty quickly. She found other interests. And so we had this horse, and then a friend of mine, he drove horses. So obviously this pony was no good for me to actually do anything with. I was like you said, I was a big kid as well. I've never been a small kid. It was a little Welsh pony. So we ended up breaking its drive, and then the love for it started there really. And then over the years I got my own horses again, and from then on. And then basically it sounds ridiculous, but the romanticized aspect of being a farrier just looks cool as a kid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We used a farrier called Duncan Smith. I actually went to college with Grant and Billy back in the day, yeah. So and then he asked me if I'd go and help out with him like when I was turned 16, 17. And then I couldn't really do much obviously. It wasn't an ATF or you couldn't train people. Just give me a point in the right direction. And then I went to Warwickshire College on a pre-Farrier course. At the time, they offered you an apprenticeship at the end of it as well, which that kind of disappeared pretty quickly. So there was no apprenticeship there.
Yep.
So I went to work with Smithy, Dave Smith,
Okay.
on the weekends. Him and his apprentice, like Rich Marsh, he would have me try to do heels, toe bends, all that sort of stuff, try and guide me in the right direction. And then I had a job lined up with Smithy. The hunting ban came in, and there wasn't a job anymore. So went home.
So which band?
The hunting ban. So in the UK, I think it was around about, I'd say 1998, 1999, something like that. The hunting ban came in, whereby fox hunting was banned.
Oh, okay. And then,
Yes, work dried up pretty quickly. So then went back home, phoned a good friend of mine, Adam Fox, and said, listen, do you know where there's any jobs? And he said, oh, actually, my boss's brother is looking for someone. He hooked me up there, Farrier called Graham Howland. And I did my apprenticeship there in Harrogate. So it wasn't too far away from home. It's only an hour. I stayed over. I didn't commute. But yeah, that's where it started. And that was the start of the Farrier journey, really. Yeah. So
okay. It sounds like you wanted to do it, but you
yeah,
ended up with all these roadblocks.
it's very determined to do it. So it's that's the start of the story anyway.
Okay. And what did your apprenticeship look like? Was there a lot of hand making shoes, or was it fitting?
No.
Machine made?
Graham and Gary have all had very different practices. Gary Howland is renowned for still making every shoe to this day.
Okay.
I think he's 67. Don't quote me on that, Gary. Yeah, and as for speed shoemaker, the shoes that want to go on is pretty darn good, to be fair, still at this age. Still keeps it up. Yeah, and he trained Foxy, and he trained George Day as well. So he put a lot of apprentices through there, but like, I know George competes, you probably know him from that. But yeah, so my apprenticeship was more hands-on rather than the shoemaker side of things.
Okay.
Clogging horses, shoeing horses. Lots of horses. In that era, money became cheap, and so a lot of people got horses. And when I first started my apprenticeship, it was like the balance of horse ownership was completely different to what it is today.
Okay.
So when I first started, it was more sports horses, traditional horse owners, as in the hunters, and those sorts of things would probably occupy, I'd say, 70% of the market, and then liveries would be 30%.
Okay. So livery would be like a boarding stable where
Yes, it's just a barn for you guys.
Yeah.
Where people come and rent a stable and their land and stuff. And then when money became cheap, around about 2000-ish, it's like it was an explosion. Everyone got horses. And
was this the mad cow disease? Like
Yeah.
post mad cow disease?
Yeah, post
when
mad cow disease,
farmland was cheaper. And
yeah, all that sort of stuff. And then again, interest rates dropped to nothing, and money became cheap. So people were borrowing mortgages and all that sort of crazy stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
The stuff that got us all in trouble later.
Yeah, exactly. The world. Then to this day, it still hasn't changed. The role reversal of horse owner. Obviously, hunting had been banned, so that lost a majority of. And hunting still goes on now, but it's a drag hunt rather than an actual fox
Right.
hunt.
Yeah. They drag the scent around.
So a lot of hunts disbanded, which meant that the pony clubs alongside that would disband, because normally pony club have got an attachment to a hunt.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, historically. So that was a massive role reversal when it came to horse ownership. And I think it's still to this day, it's probably done the same numbers, but in reverse. So 70% livery to 30% traditional sports.
And how did that translate into what you had to deal with?
Actually, you don't realize you're in the moment. Do you know what I mean? And it's people not understanding the craft.
Mm-hmm.
Like those traditional sports horse owners respect you a lot more. They've been there. It's heritage to them, the job you're doing. Whereas these new horse owners were probably been at riding schools and then jumped onto the My Little Pony crew, just want to have pretty ponies and horses and things. And looking at it, they, in a livery yard, they don't understand and have the respect for what we do on a daily basis. So they just want to change 4 tires.
Yeah, right.
That's it. And it's the cheapest we'll do. Unfortunately, like we, as a UK, we are renowned for having the cheapest, most qualified farriers in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
And I believe this is one of the reasons.
Okay.
Because we're in a stage whereby the client dictates to us,
Mm-hmm.
unless you can dictate to the client. And there's not a lot of farriers that have got the strength to do so because they need the work.
There's always that fear you're just going to lose.
It's like
the client.
ownership. For me, I make sure that I own my business and my client needs me more than I need them.
Mhm.
I'm lucky. That is a fact. I've got other streams of income, but I've never really changed even before we had the Chap Company and all that sort of stuff, I still had that respect for myself to own that. And I think that's what as an industry, I think we need to do a little bit more of.
So with that mindset, what did that look like? Is it just
Being able to say no,
Yeah.
not getting under the difficult horses, and I had it all the time. Oh, you're scared of the horses and all those. No, I'm not scared of horses. I just don't want to get kicked. Like, why would I want to get kicked?
Mm.
Do you think it's fun? No, it's not fun at
You
all.
get back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky enough to have had the same clientele or client basis for between 20 and 15 years.
Hmm.
So before long, I'm going to have to start looking for new clients.
Because they age out, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a scenario to be in, a predicament to be in when you've never really looked for work. And so you got to think about the future. And looking at it, I don't want to go back to showing any livery horses. I like my private clients. I don't want to have those in my business because they ruin your business, I believe. If you're in a livery yard, instead of you own, the client owns you. And that's, I think,
that power imbalance translates into a lot of difficult
So that's the hardest part. A lot of the time, the clients are Google experts.
Yes.
And they don't believe our expertise.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest part about it. Oh, my friend says this. Is your friend spent 4 years doing a qualification? Yeah, and then decades of experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the sort of scenario in on these livery yards, and I think I'm lucky enough to travel around the world, and I see the same thing in Spain. I see the same thing in Holland, in the Nordics, even in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't want to say enablers, but we're enabling this to happen by not commanding respect.
Right.
Because they see it as 4 tires.
Right.
That for me is just wrong.
Yeah, it's difficult. People always want to avoid conflict or potential conflict.
Yeah.
Might not even cause it.
You've known me for a while now.
You're not afraid of that.
No, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and if it is what it is, I'll tell it.
Yeah. And then how did you start the Silverback Chap Company?
If you would like to hear this episode in its entirety, please subscribe using the link in the show notes. Thank you for listening.